I went over this weekend and saw Project Hail Mary. I don't go see as many movies as I once did, but this was one of those movies that I said, you know what? I'm going to check this out. I think, especially in this economy, we are very careful about what we spend our money on. So you want to make sure the best way you possibly can that you're getting the best bang for your buck. Now, clearly, there's no way to know something is going to be good, but there are indicators. There's a lot of things about this movie when I did my recon for that I was actually pleased with. The the use of practical effects. There's CGI in the movie, obviously. I don't know if you could do a space movie with no CGI whatsoever. But there is a very how do I want to put this? A very clear use of practical effects. You can tell when you're watching the movie. Even if I didn't do recon beforehand, I would recognize, yeah, this right here is not CGI. This is like physical things happening and going on. And I want to say they built the spaceship that Ryan Gosling is in for a good portion of the movie. I want to say they built an actual large physical set, and even the alien he interacts with, Rocky, was uh I don't know if it was an animatronic puppet. I think it was. At so he was actually interacting with a physical thing during the movie. It wasn't him looking at a green screen for the most part. And I like this. I've said this several times. There's several videos I put out where I've talked about this. I think there needs to be a marriage of special effects and practical effects. I think both can be used, and I think they are a great benefit to each other. Now, with that said, I I I, I think this is where you get to the issue of cost, because we're going to get into this article from comicbookmovie.com, and they're going to talk about how much it costs to make this movie. Now, if they had used primarily special effects for this movie, I think this budget would have been more than double what they spent. I mean, probably triple. Movies cost a lot these days. You have your production budget, then you have all your marketing, which I've brought this up before. There's if I wish sometimes I worked for a movie studio, because there's things they could do in the marketing department to save themselves so much money. And I don't know why they don't do these obvious things. It's like obvious things that would cost a fraction of what they spend. And I think produce 10 times the results, in my humble opinion. Anyway, I'll ramble on forever. Let's get into this article right here from comicbookmovie.com. Project Hail Mary blast past box office expectations with 140 million in its global opening. That's a lot of money. Project Hail Mary debuted in theaters on Friday amid highly positive reviews, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes and 98% audience score, which I checked, and as of right now, that audience score has dropped slightly, only 2%. It's 96% now. By the time this video goes up, it might be slightly less, but audiences seem to enjoy this movie. And the thing about the enjoyment of this movie is you can tell this movie was made without attempting to attach itself to a specific audience. It went for a broad appeal. And how do you go for a broad appeal? You just simply make something that's entertaining. Look, this is true across the board. No matter what your ideological bent, no matter what you lean toward with any issue, we all love to be entertained. And I think when movie studios, production houses understand that, I think everybody will be served better because they will just simply make an entertaining movie, which this movie really did. There was comparisons I saw um the past couple days with this movie and Interstellar. I don't think that's a fair comparison. Interstellar for me is one of the greatest space movies ever created. Interstellar was what I call space sci-fi realism, if that makes sense. And even though I believe Project Hail Mary kind of skirts the same genre, I think it leans more heavily into science fiction than science fiction realism. Again, my humble opinion. So I don't think comparing this to Interstellar is a valid comparison. I think they're two separate movies. Now, I think this movie is more comparable to The Martian, which was, of course, the book was written by the same author that wrote this book. And so it only makes sense that they're more comparable. But I would venture to say this movie is more enjoyable than The Martian. And I enjoyed The Martian. I'm not going to say this movie's going to blow you away visually, but nor do I believe it had to. It had stable visuals and enjoyable visuals, and I was entertained the entire movie. It says, and Sony Pictures and Amazon MGM adaptation of Andy Weir's novel has exceeded expectations at the box office. Project Hail Mary opened to 80.5 million in North America. 63 million was predicted, making it one of only 3 non-sequel franchise movies over the past decade to open to 60 million or more domestically after Jordan Peele's Us hit 70 million and Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer hit 82 million. This gives the sci-fi adventure the biggest opening of the year, slashing past Scream 7's 63 million and Amazon MGM's biggest opening ever, shattering the record set by 2023's Creed 3 with 58 million. So, needless to say, this movie has exceeded what they thought, given them way more bang for buck, and I think this is the way to go. Just entertainment. Families want to go see movies as well. There's a huge underserved movie going crowd. The family movie. You remember when you used to be able to take your family on a weekend to go enjoy this, blockbuster film? You could take your kids. You didn't really have to worry about something super raunchy being in the movie. Look, there's a huge underserved audience that they're just waiting for movies like this to be released. I personally don't think theaters are dead. I think there's a lot of people who proclaim theaters are dead. I don't think that's the case. I think there's just an audience that's not served, and they're waiting for production studios like this to bring them back something they want to see. Overseas, Project Hail Mary took in 60.4 million from 82 markets for a global start of 140.9 million. Quote, you could feel how big this film was going to be with the rave reviews from the early screenings and massive pre-sales. But to see it happen this weekend is amaze. Now, if you've seen the movie, you understand the relevance of that statement right there. I like that. Congrats to everyone who was involved in making this film, said Amazon MGM domestic distribution chief Kevin Wilson. Openings like this is what makes this business special. And I think you can really get back to openings like this on a consistent basis by merely giving people entertaining movies. A stellar start, though it's worth noting that Project Hail Mary comes with a reported 248 million, 200 million after taxes price tag. So I'm guessing this is the production cost of the movie, if I'm not mistaken. And that's not bad. 140 million opening weekend. And I think word of mouth is going to spread. And I don't think this movie is going to slow down. It's worth seeing. Ryan Gosling, heck of an actor. I like what I saw. Quote, With this one, there was no cheap version of this movie. Writer Drew Goddard tells THR, "We're not making this unless we're big and swinging for the fences. But it did feel like the type of movie you could do that. It felt like the type of movie that you're going to bring your kids to. You're going to bring your grandparents to. That's what you're looking for to justify the budgets, exactly as I said. A broad appeal, something that we can all sit down and enjoy, no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, no matter what you think ideologically, we all want to be entertained. The quicker these studios understand that, the more entertaining movies like this, I believe we will get. And when I'm writing it, I try to be thoughtful, but I don't try to ever undercut the ambition. I have a big imagination. Chris and Phil have an even bigger imagination. Once we made the decision to say yes, we don't really think about budget. It's more about what's going to make the best movie. Now, obviously, not everyone has endless pockets and you can't just, always make movies with no concern for the cost. But if you can focus more on the entertainment value of a movie and make that the central focus toward the audience, I think, inevitably you get better movies, just in my humble opinion. Directed by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse duo Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and written by Drew Goddard, who also adapted Weir's The Martian for the screen. Project Hail Mary focuses on a middle school science teacher named Ryland Grace, Ryan Gosling, who embarks on a perilous mission to save the planet and finds an unlikely ally in the form of a strange alien he dubs Rocky. Now, this is the part of the article that not shocked me, but it's like, man, we're in a different time. There was a time when if a Disney movie was being released, studios did whatever they could to get out of Disney's way. You did not want to compete with Disney. They had bottomless pockets. They understood entertainment. They gave fans what they wanted, and they were guaranteed to bring in a big budget. And this is where this article shocked me when I read this. I thought, wow, we're at a different place. Not shocked me in the sense that I didn't see this coming, but when you think about Disney's position in reference to where they were 25, 30 years ago, you would have never seen this. So here's what it says. In other box office news, Disney and Searchlight's horror sequel, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, came in slightly below estimate to take fourth place at $9 million. Now, that didn't necessarily surprise me. Horror doesn't have the broad appeal of other general movies. I'm not going to say it's a niche audience, but you're not really going to undo a broad appeal movie with a horror flick, in my humble opinion. Okay, $9 million. Now, here's the thing. It got this $9 million from 3,010 North American theaters, while Indian action epic Dhurandhar 2, hope I'm pronouncing that right, The Revenge, claimed third place with 9.5 million from 987 locations. But then it goes on. That was already shocking. But then check this out. Disney Pixar's Hoppers slipped into second place with 18 million, bringing its global total to 242 million after 3 weeks in theaters. This would have never been Disney 15, 20, 30 years ago. Adjusted for inflation, a movie like Hoppers, which let me see what I don't know what the Rotten Tomatoes score is of Hoppers, but I've actually been seeing good things from Hoppers. So I'm kind of surprised. Let's see. Yeah, 93% Rotten Tomatoes, 94% audience scores. And I have heard good things. Again, I go back to something I said before. This is what happens when you lose fan capital. That is a thing. And I think the quicker a lot of these production companies understand that, they will produce things that fans want to see, because that, like, reading that, it was almost unbelievable to me. Okay, science teacher Ryland Grace, Ryan Gosling, wakes up on a spaceship light years from home with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. As his memory returns, he begins to uncover his mission, solve the riddle of the mysterious substance causing the sun to die out. He must call on his scientific knowledge and unorthodox ideas to save everything on Earth from extinction. But an unexpected friendship means he may not have to do it alone. And again, that friendship almost became another character in the movie, and I enjoyed it. I think this is a good movie. I'm not going to tell you that this is some kind of cultural phenom movie. It's not that, but it's just a decent, quality, well balanced, entertaining movie that everybody could watch, which we don't get much of these days. So you definitely should go out and enjoy this one.